Hey MVPs, YouTube, TikTok, Patreon, whoever's watching this video, shout out to you guys. Thank you for watching. It's the results show for UFC Seattle. Fight Night Seattle was Song Yadong versus Henry Cejudo in the main event. We're going to go over all the results. I'm showing you the chart here. We'll go over all the numbers and results. But the reason we do these results shows is so I can share with you guys my thoughts on the fights and in comparison to the predictions we put out on the internet for free. We put out some free picks out there. We put out the MVP picks, and then we'll talk about our betting strategy moving forward. Ended the night 6-6. I apologize, I'm under the weather, but we ended the night 6-6 overall when picking money lines. Obviously, the record could be better. It's a simple enough fact. Like, I would take John Silva. I would take Malik Abdul, right? I would take Abdul Malik. I apologize, Mansour Abdul Malik. I would take these guys if I was picking money lines, but because there's odds involved, and I can't intelligently tell you guys to bet on stuff like that, like a minus 1,500 or something to that effect. It is what it is. We take some losses that we normally wouldn't take. So I don't get too caught up in the record. I get more caught up in analysis and making sure that's accurate, and then advising gamblers on what they should be doing and how they should do it. So shout out to the MVPs who finished green yesterday. I know some of you did. Shout out to the MVPs who were generous enough to tip me. That was pretty cool. We get tips every week, but it's always nice. You know, I don't want tips. I'd rather you guys become annual members. You go to Patreon, become an MVP, be a member for the whole year, things like that. But what we're really doing here is we're providing you with very transparent results that you guys can always go back, reference, and see. No one's lying about anything. It's what our platform is built on: transparency, accuracy, and just that you trust me and you want to be a part of the community. Now, part of the community is being on the Discord server. Okay, so all you guys who are on Patreon, you're the members. If you follow the link, get to the Discord server. We live stream the fights. You can watch them with me. I provide live commentary and live betting. And the reason I bring that up is the first fight of the night was Modestas Bukauskas against Rafael Sequeira. And if you were watching on the live stream, I told you guys immediately, I'm saying 20 seconds into the fight, I said, oh, Rafael Sequeira, he doesn't react properly. And everybody's like, what are you talking about? I said, guys, he's backing straight up. And when he backs straight up, his chin goes in the air. This is 100% going to be a TKO. He does not circle away from power hand. He doesn't know how to evade danger. When you watch street fights on like YouTube and stuff, you will see these guys and they think they're boxing and they're moving, and all they're doing is moving their head back and their chin up. And if you're not protecting this jawline right here, this beautiful, yeah, I know I have it, but if you're not protecting your profile, you should be protecting it with your shoulders rolled up, right? Or when you throw a jab, you protect it again with this shoulder. You right, jab, cross, everything's protecting this jawline here, and even your hook at the end, right? So I talk about this because as a fighting instructor, I see this all the time. It's innate. Innate means you're born with it. So you have to train and teach yourself not to do this when backing up. You have to teach yourself to stay within yourself, protective posture, and circle away and get off that straight line. Because remember, punches, when they're coming down the pipe, they're the most powerful right in front of you, right on the pipe, right? You make that triangle in front of your body. All the power is at the tip of your hands. So you want to get off angle, change levels. You want to do a number of things to make this punch go from 100, 90, 80, 70. And that's what we talk about rolling with strikes. It's just you're diminishing the impact of the punch. Rafael Sequeira does none of these things. And we didn't learn that from Rafael in his first fight because he got knocked out in the first round, and we didn't see much from him. He landed maybe one punch and it was over, and he got knocked out by Ibo, and we'll talk about Ibo in a few. But to see Rafael go out there and immediately identify a deficiency in his striking, and if you watch the interview after the fight, Modestas and his team talk about it. He's like, yeah, we saw this on tape. We saw what he had. Now, they must have had other tape I didn't have, because there's only 2 fights of this guy on the entire internet. We never see this dude. So come to the UFC 11-0, all these knockouts, and then you've been knocked out twice in the first round, or the first round, back to back, by like average ass dudes, making them look world class. He still has yet to land punches that matter. Nothing about this guy is impressive. As a matter of fact, don't get too excited about Modestas winning this fight. He's not a great fighter. He's okay. He's good. He's a, like I told you, he was a UFC veteran. In the pre-fight video, I talked to you guys about one guy belongs in the UFC, good enough to beat guys like Prachnio, and then another guy just doesn't belong in the UFC. He beats cab drivers. So pretty simple, easy call to make. Shout out to the MVPs who bet it. And another thing we had for you guys on this card was we are really heavy early on the prelim. And I tell you guys this about law of averages. If you're up early on a card, don't get FAFO. Don't get fear of missing out. Or what is it? Fear. What is it? FAFO, right? Oh, that's fuck around and find out. What? FOMO. Whoa, I'm tripping. Don't get FOMO or you will FAFO, okay? So what I'm saying is if you're up, like I got an MVP out there, shout out to Lucky Luciano, on the first couple of fights, the man was up $1,500 to $2,500. Now, I don't know what that is to you. I don't know how many units that is or what that is, but $2,500 is $2,500. That's going to fill up your fridge a number of times, right? So that's going to keep you alive in this fight game. So when he sends me the screenshot of how much money he's made after those couple of fights, bro, relax. It's a fight night. It's a free fight card. You don't have to go and try to get the whole script right. And very rarely, and you guys see it down here, how often do we get the entire card right? You can go look at last year's results. 42 fight cards. I do 42 events a year. Last year, we got them all right once. We got them all right once, guys. Most times we're 9-2, 11-2, things like that. We're never going to get the whole script right. Now, what do we want to get right? All of our locks. If I tell you it's a lock, we want to get that right. But I just want you to pace yourselves because if you're on a run and you're on a tear, and we started off the night 3-0, 3-0 on props, 3-0 on money lines. Holy shit, you should be up a lot of money at that point. Don't give it all back. Don't give it all back being silly. Right? I seen guys hit on a slot machine at the casino and just keep playing. I'm like, what are you playing for? What were you hoping to hit? I've seen it I saw a guy buying magic cards. He bought a box of magic cards. He was looking for a planeswalker. I don't know if you guys know what the fuck this means. He was looking for a specific card. And he was getting all these cards, and he got a card, and he goes, oh my God. He checked, and it's worth $80. And he's like, yes. And that was the number one card in that whole set. You're not going to get any better. And you know you're not going to get another one of those in the next box. And he kept buying boxes. And he kept selling back the cards to the shop that he was buying them at. I watched this guy just bury himself $300 and with nothing to show for it. It was crazy. It was crazy. It just kept going. At some point, you're just going to miss. So, enough of the betting strategy. I'm just going to tell you that Modescus looked good. Fighting a complete scrub, pretty easy call. Shout out to me. Next fight, shout out to me again. It was a lock. I told you, Nurselton's a real fighter. He looks like the part, and he shouldn't be fighting a guy that's 34 years old with 5 kids, making a UFC debut. I found Eric McConaughey very boring, low output, gets against the cage. And when I say low output, what an understatement. We're in the second round, and homie's thrown 6. He's landed 6 strikes. 6 strikes in the second round, bro? That's crazy. Nurselton did everything he wanted to do to this man, and there was no control time on the mat. These dudes are in a clinch because go watch Eric McConaughey fights on the regional scene. He gets in a clinch, and he just sits there, and that's what he works. And it's a very damage mitigating approach to fighting. We call it the clinch drill. We call it clinching because what you're really doing is negating strikes from landing on you. We teach people this. I call it King Louis. It's a way to close the distance with the enemy. Get in there, get your 50-50s. Now you're fighting for underhooks, and we're clinching here. And it's a very boring way to fight. And when you're boring, you won't get another fight. But it's also easy to pick against you. And shout out to Nurselton, one of the easiest picks out there. I told the MVPs take the knockout. We hit on it early, plus 130. He's a minus 320 favorite. Obviously, we're going to parlay him with a bunch of things. But if you want to get there, I think it was a plus 160. Did I say 130? It's a plus 160 TKO. Got it right. If you don't understand the color scheme, I apologize. Obviously, green means we hit. Red means we miss. But more importantly, the letters. If they're in white, those were locks. We had to turn them white because they were green, just like the background, same color. So hitting on a lock is always a good thing. We love it. We want to see this. You never want to see a green in red. That means we missed a lock. And we'll talk about that in a few. A couple other locks that we missed are over here. We actually hit this not go the distance lock. But these are value bets in purple. Hitting a value bet's a big deal, especially a value prop. Value props are now up to 41% on the season. Very, very good, considering they're always going to be plus money, with the exception of this not go the distance. It was just more value than picking the money line, whatever. But usually they're plus money bets, and it's a pretty big deal. So you want to hit purples. Some of this shit's going to be a moonshot, and you're never going to get it right, but you try. And I always let you know that we do have purples that are parlays, and we want to hit those, and we hit one of those, only one. And we'll talk about why we didn't hit the others. All right. But shout out to Nurselton. Getting it done. Next fight, Nicolay against Austin Vanderford. When I made this video before the fight, I talked to you guys about, I love Nicolay. I thought, love's not the right word. I like Nicolay. I thought he was tough, and I knew he had some dog in him. And it all comes down to earlier last year when I picked Nicolay to go the distance with Danny Barlow, the hand of God, right? I said, hey, he's going to go the distance, and he ended up being very competitive in that fight. And I want to say he outstruck Danny Barlow. Now, fighting Danny Barlow, I think in his debut, he had another one. Dana White Contender Series, Michael Morales, an undefeated fighter, a world-class fighter. So this guy's got all the worst luck in the world. He's had to fight Michael Morales, an undefeated stud, ranked and everything, and then Danny Barlow. Those are his most recent losses. So I'm looking at this man's, schedule, pedigree, and I'm looking at his career record. I'm going, he's very good. They just keep putting him against tough opponents. I like this kid, and I understand why he's the favorite, and he's 35 years old. I think he's a stud, but he had to fight some very dynamic strikers and stuff. So, and I hear about this Austin Vanderford guy. Now, forgive me. I don't pay attention to other fight, productions. I don't pay attention to Bellator. I don't pay attention to Strikeforce or whoever the hell exists out there. I don't pay attention to LFA or anybody. I just don't have time. I'm working on college football stuff. I'm preparing for the season. But I know every UFC fighter. And I follow, sometimes I'll catch PFL on a Friday. And when somebody wrote to me and was like, hey, Rico, that's Paige Van Zandt's husband. I was like, oh, shit, my bad, Mr. Van Zandt. But none of that really impacted me. I wanted to go view the film. And I told you guys, I watched him on film, and the first thing I thought was, he fights like me. He fights like me. He's aggressive. He's going to get a takedown. He's going to ground and pound you. His elbows are vicious, and it's not going to be pretty. You're going to hate fighting this guy. All I know is when you're done fighting him, you're going to be hurting. Might not be the most athletic guy in the world. Might not be the most physically appealing, all this other stuff. Doesn't have every muscle there ever was. As a matter of fact, Nicolay, I'm pissed that these pictures are the same size every time, because Nicolay was a much bigger guy than Austin Vanderford. But my goodness, I told you, as soon as I watched his fights, I said, oh, man, I love the way this guy fights. I'm taking the underdog. And I was ready to fade him before I ever saw a fight of his. And that's what's so great, is when you can assess talent. That's what makes me special. I sat there and I watched it and I said, holy shit, this guy's a beast. He's going to win. And it was no doubt. He dominated this fight from beginning to end. It was not an early stoppage. Nicolay was upset with the stoppage because he was intelligent defending himself, whatever that is. His hand was trapped underneath him, and he was getting ragdolled. Now, Nicolay attacked Austin after the fight, so I don't expect to see him in the UFC anymore. I imagine you get cut. You're 35 years old from Kazakhstan. Yeah, bro, we don't need to approve your visa and bring you into America, assaulting an American in the cage with your distasteful, unsportsmanlike bullshit. So I don't like the guy. But don't forget, he's still a decent fighter. He's tough enough to get beat up, and it takes a while to finish him. But this man over here, Austin Vanderford, I was impressed with him before the fight, and during the fight, I was like, yeah, we're doing good. And at this point, we're 3-0 on the night. We're singing our praise, and we're having a good time. Now, let's talk about the next fight and why we're not having a good time. Javid Basharat is a complete bum. His odds were very, very appealing at minus 270 to make him a lock for the night, and I didn't. I didn't make him a lock because I told you guys I don't trust fighters who don't go for the finish, and he doesn't have that killer instinct in him. He's not going for the finish. He doesn't go for that killer instinct. Unfortunately for me, when I was making the final video and the final card, I recorded it once, I posted it, and I had to edit it, and I edited the final fight card, and I added 2 parlays. I really did, and I can show you here. These were not there when I initially posted this chart on Discord and Patreon. They weren't there, and I added them, and I added Basharat to both of them, and they ruined the parlays. I would say I treated him like a lock. And the reason I did that, I can tell you guys my logic behind it. It was really about this parlay right here, this third one. I wanted the first 3 guys, I wanted to get it right. And I wanted to I wanted to leave the underdog that I was picking out of the parlay, so I went chalk to start those first 3. And I believed it. I don't just go chalk just to go chalk. I believed in it. And I said, okay, if I can get these first 3 right, we'll get you ahead. We'll double a unit or 2, and then we can rest the rest of the card and just chill. Make a large pizza on a Saturday night. It's cool. No big deal. Double a unit and chill. But Basharat did what Basharat does, which is he's a total bust, bro. This guy got nothing. The minute Ricky Simone engaged in a clinch with him and wore his arms out, it changed his whole dynamic, his whole demeanor. He was more afraid of takedowns. He was more afraid of locking up. And it's because he was exerting energy with muscles he doesn't normally use. Jav Basharat is a tap dancer. He's a pitter-patter dude. He's trying to do the Sean O'Malley type of fighting style, which is move, strike, move, looks fresh, strike, move, fresh. And that's cool, but he doesn't have it. He's not built like that. And Ricky Simone, unfortunately for me, I didn't know there was home field advantage in UFC. Ricky Simone showed up. He's from the Pacific Northwest. They're fighting in Seattle. He wants to rep for the people. And he walks right in there, and it's just a straight jab cross. And it's the most vicious knockout of the night. It was brutal. It was vicious. I don't know if he got $50K for that. He probably should have, knocking out a guy like Javid Basharat, and nobody was really counting on him to do that in an underdog spot. But he should have got his $50K. He did great. Mansour Abdul-Malik against Nick Klein. Once again, we knew Mansour Abdul-Malik was going to win the fight. But you have to convince yourself reasons why you got to go with Nick Klein if you're going to bet it. And I made a video about this, and I said, fade it, bet it, fade it, tail it, or avoid it. Those are your 3 options. Fade it, tail it, or avoid it. So I'm telling you, we're taking Nick Klein. Why? Well, because no man in the world should be a minus 1,300. And unless you're a fucking superhero, right? Or you're fighting a handicapped person who's missing appendages. And Nick Klein proved me 100% right. Nick Klein went out there, did a spinning back fist at some point, spinning back elbow, and it literally almost knocked out Mansour Abdul-Malik. Nick Klein fought scared. And the reality is you're fighting a massive man, a man with a ton of muscle mass and strength, and you're just fighting to try to hold it and control him. And when you're trying to control somebody like that, you're going to get exhausted. And he was exhausted. He didn't have the gas tank for it. I know Mansour Abdul-Malik has no cardio. I know he can't make it to the 3rd round. But it doesn't matter. He's low output. To me, he doesn't impress me all that much. But he is a physical specimen. And you're always going to get these crazy odds like this. Vegas is going to make you pay if you want to take Malik. Getting it right does nothing for your pocketbook unless you're willing to bet $1,300 on that man to win $100. I don't recommend that at all. So congratulations to Mansour Abdul-Malik. Could I have picked him to win the fight? Sure. Could I improve my record? Sure. But I didn't. It is what it is. But I saw a brutal man. He did sprawl really well on the first attempt to take down. Guys want to close the distance and take him down because they don't want to strike with him. I think we're going to need to find somebody of equivalent physical strength to fight this man, to beat him. So we'll see who they pair him up with next. It looks like they've just been giving him fish, trying to build momentum and hype. So he's getting the Don King treatment, right? As a promoter, if you guys don't remember, to all you kids out there, Don King would get his boxers and they would fight fucking cab drivers until they got on TV, and then they tell you they're the best in the world. True story. But Mansour Abdul-Malik, I think he's getting the treatment, of the prospect treatment, if you will. At some point, he's going to have to start fighting better fighters, and we're going to fade him at some point, like for real. I'll let you know when that happens, and I'll tell you that he's losing. But until then, we're just taking guys because you got to respect the EV. Nick Klein's breathing, bro. He deserves to be a plus 700. Now, I don't think Nick Klein's a very good fighter. Doesn't bring much to the table outside of trying to get a guillotine or a rear naked choke. Excuse me. Cool. But he's a little crafty, but I think he's just going to be one of those guys that gets on the card and gets beat up. Speaking of getting on the card and getting beat up, Andre Fili loses to Melzo Costa. This was an even pick'em fight. I took the underdog. I thought Andre Fili would win this fight. I just talked about home field advantage. It worked for Ricky Simone. It didn't work for Andre Fili. My God. He looked good. He looked fine on the feet. And then, don't believe this striking discrepancy. I didn't notice that. I really didn't when I was watching the fight. I wasn't that impressed with Melzo Costa. At one point, Andre Fili gets the takedown. And when he gets the takedown, he's fine. His head's in the right spot. He's in the right spot. It's fine. But for whatever reason, he just shoved his head in there and said, here, man, get this guillotine on me. And no urgency. And when you attack the guillotine, if he goes back and watch it, if you have two hands, you should not take one hand and put them on each hand. Like if somebody's choking you, don't take your hands and try to get one hand off and one hand off. You're at a disadvantage. Well, let me say this. If you're not stronger than the person choking you, or you don't have the leverage, or you're in the wrong position, your one hand isn't going to win. Your right hand's not going to win against his right hand. Your left hand's not going to win against his left hand. Is that how it works? You have to go 2-on-1. 2-on-1. You still have both hands, but don't do this. It's like splitting your DPS in a group fight, bro. If you're a video game guy, you know what I'm talking about. It's absolutely ridiculous. You don't do that shit. You don't do this to try to stop a choke. Andre Fili sucks. I can't believe in Andre Fili. Touchy-feely. He has a skill set. He was once a great fighter. He was once a good fighter, competitive fighter. What I saw in this cage was embarrassing. You don't lose like that. That's, you know when you get choked out in a guillotine like that? And I'm going to say that, and I don't mean this. When I'm in the gym and I'm coaching my guys and we're drilling, if we're drilling, typically I start slow. I'll be like, hey, find a partner. We're going to rotate, but let's go 1 minute. And you're just rolling, grappling for dominant body position. That's it. Nobody's allowed to choke anyone. No one's allowed to do any arm bars, any triangles, anything. Nope. We're not rolling for submission. We're rolling for dominant body position. So if you're caught in a guard or something, try to escape the guard, pass the guard. If you have somebody in your guard, try to sweep because you're trying to transition to the next best dominant body position. I do that for minutes at a time for my guys. And then once you get them a little tired, then you go, all right, now we're rolling for submission. I do that because I learned that if you show up and in your first 5-10 minutes, you say we're rolling in submission, we're rolling for submission, right off the bat, dudes start getting caught in guillotines because they're not warmed up, because they're not taking it serious, because they don't feel the intensity just yet. And what I saw from Andre Fili was a guy who was not locked in. He wasn't ready to fight. Either he didn't warm up in the back. You need to come out. I'm a firm believer you should come out sweating. You should be in the back, getting some work in and getting used to putting pressure around certain points. You know who you're fighting. You're fighting a Brazilian fighter with jiu-jitsu capabilities. Now, this is pretty good news for us because Costa looked good enough, and he won the fight. So the next fight he's going to fight a dog. And Vegas might overvalue him, and we can fade him because I'm not impressed with him. I did pick him his last fight, but this fight, I know what I'm getting when I see him. I'm getting some kicks, and I'm getting jiu-jitsu. Andre Fili, I'm getting a dude who's sleepwalking. I can't get down with that. So don't forget that. He doesn't warm up. Speaking of warming up, Ibo Aslan against Ian Cutelaba. I told you Ibo Aslan's going to knock him out in the first round. The lock on this fight was not going the distance. And sometimes when I say a lock on a fight is not going the distance, it's because I'm referring to both gentlemen have the ability to finish the fight. So Ibo Aslan, overvalued by Vegas at this point, right? He's a 14-0 fighter, 14-1 fighter at the time, 14 knockouts. Every single time he wins, it's by knockout. The knockout payout for Ibo Aslan was minus 120. They fully expected him to win by knockout. Everybody jumped on it, and it's not that I jumped on it. I just don't get down with Ian Cutelaba like that, right? But what we now know is that Ibo's last knockout was against the dude with the chin in the air. It was against Rafael Sequeira. That's who he knocked out. This dude who can't fight. So we got an overinflated line here, and you're fighting a veteran who just cusses a lot on the mic, apparently. Ian Cutelaba knows 6 words of English, and 2 of them are F you and MF. That's all he knows. He might just know the F word. But these are rock'em sock'em robot guys, not very complete fighters. Ian Cutelaba, though, does have the ability to get a takedown. And I guess the blueprint is out on how to beat Ibo Aslan. If anybody has any grappling acumen whatsoever and a slight chin, you're going to beat Ibo Aslan. Ibo Aslan's terrible on the mat. He got choked out by an arm triangle, and it's another one of those things where I just see no survival technique, no survival, like nothing. You're just out there. You don't know what you're doing. I don't know how you're a professional fighter and you can't defend against arm triangles. He was literally pushing Ian Cutelaba's hips away from him. which is what you need to do when you get an arm triangle. Usually we're in the mount. All you do, telltale signs that somebody's going to do an arm triangle to you. They take one hand and they run their bicep on your carotid artery on either side, and they slide that hand under your head. Once the hand's under the head with that bicep there cutting off one carotid artery, you know his head starts going low below your elbow. He gets it over, and now he pushes your own elbow into your other carotid artery, and now it's a blood choke. Now you're out in 3 to 5 seconds. The coolest part to finish that choke is you grab your own bicep for max leverage. You tripod up, you shoulder pressure on him, and then you jump out to the trapped arm side. You jump out to your opponent's trapped arm side. The trick here is don't let him jump out to that side. Keep him on the opposite side. Keep him in your guard, whatever it is, and you'll be fine to some extent. It won't be that tight. Motherfucking Ibo Aslan is pushing this man's hips out to the trapped arm side. He's doing the exact opposite of what he should be doing. Go back and watch the replay. He's pushing him. Ibo Aslan's jiu-jitsu IQ is negative 30, and his ability to execute is negative 100. It's gross. He has knockout power. He's going to beat up anybody in a bar, but in an MMA fight, he doesn't have it. Now, Ian Cutelaba starts calling out people, says he wants to fight more often. The Incredible Hulk, he says he's got it all together. I like him. He's a fan favorite. Like I told you, I think the idea of Ian Cutelaba is way better than Ian Cutelaba. I told you he's a van driver. He never got any better. I told you he drives a Honda Civic and in high school, and now he's 40 with that same Honda Civic. That's how I feel about Ian Cutelaba. He's never gotten any better in his career. He said he is getting better. That's what he said in his post-fight interview. I'm a firm believer he is still that guy that I described. Unfortunately for us, Ibo was borrowing his mom's car. Ibo, he looked like a really good fighter, but he doesn't even own a car. That dude's walking. Okay, he's one of them haters walking. You know, I don't mind people who walk, bro. I used to get a girl. I used to own a pair of K-Swiss and pulled every girl there ever was. Now we get to the main card. Alonzo Menifield against Julius Walker. Do you guys know that this was named the fight of the night? It's fucking embarrassing. This was not the fight of the night, but Dana White gave him the bonuses. The $50K fight of the night, mainly because he was so impressed with Julius Walker going out there and surviving whatever they're talking about. I don't know. Like, whoever gave Julius Walker 2 rounds, what 2 rounds were you watching? That's crazy. But the real fight of the night was Rob Font and Gene Matsumoto for sure. But these guys got fight of the night. Okay. So before the fight, I told you I like Alonzo Menifield to win this fight, and it was a lock. I saw all over the internet people were picking Julius Walker to win this fight. He was the number 1 underdog people were interested in. They said he's 6'4", he's got the reach advantage, and that doesn't matter. They like his grappling acumen, all this stuff. He's a former basketball player. He's undefeated. Alonzo Menifield's got no fight IQ, and he's weak, and he's no cardio and all this. Well, I'd say both men implemented their game plan to the best of their ability. The first round was all pummeling, all grappling and pummeling. And pummeling means you're fighting for underhooks against the cage. It's the most exhausting drill you can do. It's the most exhausting thing you can do in MMA, period. There's nothing more exhausting than pummeling for underhooks. I don't care if it's striking, kicking, grappling, choking, wrestling. Nothing's more exhausting than pummeling for underhooks. So while they do that for the first 5 minutes, I tell everybody, oh, these gentlemen will not knock each other out. This is not happening, bro. They're exhausted. And we knew they were exhausted. And there's just no way how they're going to fight for the next 10 minutes. And the fighting for the next 10 minutes is some of the sloppiest, worthless, terrible fighting you'll ever see. But Alonzo Menifield obviously had more, I guess, bang in his punches. You saw more of a reaction while he was punching from Julius Walker. Julius Walker was exhausted. Alonzo Menifield, these guys, I didn't learn much from the fight other than obviously their cardio sucks. They can't do what they were trying to do in the first round for 3 rounds. I don't know if anyone can. But Julius Walker looked exactly like I thought he would. He looked like a guy who kind of grapples. And I'm dare I say, because he's new to fighting, right? They told him he fights like a jiu-jitsu nerd. He doesn't cause damage in dominant positions. So you might have a guy on his back, you're in his guard. He's too busy thinking about passing than actually striking. it's like he trains in a segmented way, and it doesn't all come to fruition. It doesn't all come together. So he's really focused on grappling and doesn't think about, I can inflict pain here, I can inflict damage here, I can do this here. It just wasn't that impressive to me. Apparently Dana White was extremely impressed. I don't know why. I thought it was very lackluster. I found the fight fucking comical. But I'm glad we got it right. So shout out to us. Menifield is not who you think he is. He is not very good. He didn't look like a minus 210 fighter at any point during this fight. No, that was a straight pick'em fight. He is not this guy. Stop looking at all this and thinking he's knocking people out, because it's not happening. Menifield hits hard. He's a beast. Speaking of knocking people out, John Silva goes out there and knocks out a world-class kickboxer, and did it in the friendliest way possible. Now, I don't know what's up with Melsick. Let me start with Melsick. So, the odds were absurd. Minus 500, plus 350. These guys, there's not a minus 500 striker against a plus 350 guy. Yes, he knocked him out in the first round. The advantages weren't that drastic. The results were equivalent to what you're seeing, and so you got to pay for it. But I don't like it. I don't. We still haven't seen Gene Silva implement any type of grappling whatsoever. It's just been all punching. And he's clean with it, and he's crisp with it, and it's great, and he's vicious. But we haven't seen any part of that second half. And I think that second half of the skill set that they claim he has, I've never seen it. Not a takedown, no control. He's going to need that second half against some of these better fighters. They give him a skilled kickboxer, professional kickboxer, who hasn't fought in a year. And when you are a precision striker, like Melsick Bagdasarian, if you haven't fought in a year, one of the most important things from these types of kickboxers is timing. Timing. You got to have timing. And you don't get that by having a year out of the ring with ring rust. So he goes in there, he looks the part, he's doing a lot of the things right. He's a southpaw striker. I talked about it during the live stream. His lead leg, when he's circling around Gene Silva, he's circling correctly. He's doing things fundamentally right. He was winning the foot battle, if you will. And that's when your lead leg steps outside of your opponent's lead leg, meaning you're moving away from their power hand. The things he wasn't doing right, though, he doesn't have the right aggression. He doesn't have the right desire to win. John Silva does. John Silva also has his timing, and he's defensively responsible. Look at these strikes. 7 out of 25 strikes. Even though they're the hardest kicks you've ever seen, and it's clean and it's crisp, John Silva's defensively responsible. And that's how you win this fight. Melsick is not. Melsick's a cocky kid and he's not a kid. He's 35 years old. He's so cocky. He's out there. He's not defending himself. So he's throwing naked kicks. He's not circling away. When in an exchange, he thinks he can brawl with you. And homie was out. Now, he was not out. Homie was knocked down viciously, hit hard. And it's weird. He lands on the ground. He looks up at the ref. He looks up at John Silva. He's very alert because he did not have a double impact. Double impact. I hit you once. Your head hits the canvas. That's the double impact. This causes your brain and your skull to move back. And then when you hit the canvas, your brain moves forward. That forward part of your brain hitting the front of your skull is what causes blackouts. It's what causes concussions, what causes knockouts. He didn't have that. He hit the mat. He kept his head off the ground. He controls his neck, and his head never hits the mat, meaning he was not unconscious. He did not have double impact. He's completely alert and fine. He looks at the ref. He looks back at the fighter. They're looking at each other like, are you going to stop this or not? It was this new ref called McDonald. And Gene Silva's like, you're not going to stop it? Okay, I'll go beat him up. And then he jumps on top of him and hits him once. And Melsick curls up in the fetal position. I bring this up because that kid has no heart. He mailed it in right then and there. He had the ability to intelligently defend himself. He was still alive and alert, and he didn't show any fighting ability. Once he hit the ground, he treated the fucking ground like the floor is lava, bro. He pretended like he was melting, and he couldn't get up, or he couldn't pull guard, or he couldn't do anything. Like where's your up kick, bro? Where's your sense of survival? I see it from G Matsumoto. Oh my God, G Matsumoto got on the ground, was hit pretty hard with all this shit, and bro, he brought the fight. We didn't see that from Melsick at all. So in the future, Yes, Melsick's a good striker. He's dangerous. You got to fade his mentality, fade his preparation, fade his consistency, his toughness. You got to fade all kinds of shit. And never forget that. He looks the part, but hey. And with Gene Silva, you're going to be paying the fighting nerd tax. Any fighter for the fighting nerd is going to have absurd odds from Vegas. You're going to be paying that tax. I'm sorry. I'm so sick, y'all. Next fight of the night for me. Unfortunately, I think we got robbed. I really do. Rob Font goes out and beats an undefeated fighter for like the third card in a row. We have a young undefeated fighter lose for the first time. I didn't fade him. I thought G. Matsumoto had a skill set far better than Rob Font, and I'm talking about his grappling. I thought G. Matsumoto would be good enough at striking to make it look equivalent. Rob Font's striking is clean, and it's one of the best in the division, and it's been that way for, 9 years. Here's what I saw in the fight. They went to touch gloves to start the fight. And as soon as they touched gloves, Rob Font threw a 3-punch combo on some sucker shit. And I say on some sucker shit, some guys will be like, oh, defend yourself at all times, all this stuff. Nah, man. If you're going to touch gloves, fighting etiquette. If you're going to touch gloves, then touch gloves, reset, and then let's bang. If you want to go out there and punch me first and don't want to touch gloves, that's fine. Just tell me we're not touching gloves. If I put my hand up, we're touching gloves, and you shake your head no, cool, man, no problem. It's game on. But for Rob Font to pretend to touch gloves, or actually touch them, and then go into a strike with that hand, it's fucking distasteful. Now, I'll say this. It made G. Matsumoto knock his head back, and for the minute the fight started, it looked like he was overwhelmed with those 3 punches. I think that won him the round. I think that won Rob Font the round because G. Matsumoto actually dominated his ass, eventually got in the mount, was beating him up, and looked like he won the whole round to me, except for that little exchange at the beginning. And 2 of the judges gave Rob Font the first round because of that. It's embarrassing, bro. Obviously, G. Matsumoto wins the second round. Then we get to the third round, and he does catch an elbow in the second round. He caught an elbow that made him bleed on his hairline. And it looked like he was doing damage to G. Matsumoto, but he's not. It's just blood that was coming out from an elbow at his hairline. He's not. Look, man. Total strikes. They're equivalent. Significant strikes. Okay, Rob Font. They're not very significant to me. I'm looking at leg kicks, bro. G. Matsumoto was kicking the shit out of this man's legs. It's 25-0. Control time, 6 minutes. Takedowns, 7-0. You see this submission attempt here? It's the most absurd thing. There was no submission attempt. He did a Kimura to get back up. And it wasn't like a real Kimura. He wasn't like trying to finish it. It's just something he did. He just locked his arms, and it's bullshit, man. This whole thing just irks me. I can't believe they did this to G. Matsumoto, taking the fight on 4 days' notice, and you take this away from that kid. Go back and watch the fight. You can click here and watch if you're on ESPN+. Go back and watch it, bro. Watch the third round. And watch G. Matsumoto at about 40 seconds left. He starts fighting, like throwing every single punch, kick, whatever. It's like he trained for this, okay? He does not stop throwing strikes for the last 40 seconds. Not a second. He's just going, spinning, going, kick, boom. He is a monster. But he's covered in his own blood. It's crazy. To see a man finish a fight like that and you take it away from him, that bothers me. He has a warrior mentality. It's a beast of a fighter. Obviously, Rob Font's a savvy veteran. I thought we got robbed. I thought we got robbed, okay? And we missed. Next fight, Anthony Hernandez, Brendan Allen. Anybody who believed in Brendan Allen, I just feel like you didn't watch their first fight. Because their first fight was the same as the second fight. Exact same. If you go back and watch the first fight, it was in the LFA. Oh, Rico, it was 7 years ago. I don't care, bro. Brendan Allen's gotten so much better. He's just no. It's not like Fluffy hasn't gotten any better. Everybody's getting better. The fight was equivalent. It was the same. You're going to get taken down. You're not going to be ahead in any of the wrestling positions. You're just not. Brendan Allen, the only thing he did better was striking. And that didn't matter. Because he was getting drowned the whole time. This is one of the easiest calls I had on the whole card. And the only reason I didn't make it a lock is because I respect Brendan Allen's ability to fight. But I still said, hey, guys, we're going to put this in a parlay with Song Yadong. But I'm telling you, if you put money on Brendan Allen because you got him at plus 300 earlier in the week, whatever, dude. Listen, and I wrote about it on Discord. I said, you got him at plus 300. Congratulations. But you're still picking a losing fighter. You got great odds on a losing fighter. I think I wrote it on Patreon, if I remember correctly, because the guy was bragging about it. And I said, hey, you still, I'm going to pull it up. I apologize. I've got it on the other screen here. And he's letting me know, Rico, I picked him. And I'm just thinking to myself, here it is. Look, I'll show you right here. Shout out to Koff. He says, I'm buying Brendan at his lowest and Fluffy at his highest. Both are amazing fighters, but I got Brendan at plus 330 earlier this week, and I couldn't pass that up. It should be even odds. Okay. So it's 2 days ago. And I told him, while I agree, it should be even odds. Buying a losing fighter is still a loss. Good luck, brother. And that's what you guys gotta have the discipline to understand. You are buying a losing fighter. It's cool. You got great value. You bought him at the lowest point of his career or the highest value of his career, and Fluffy's overpriced. It does not matter. It's like the Nick Klein thing, right? Like I pull up the card. I tell you guys we're taking Nick Klein. We're not buying Nick Klein. You were still picking a losing fighter. You're still going to lose. You're doing this if you have superfluous income. You're doing this if you have extra money lying around and you just want to take a flyer and it's worth a shot. But when you're doing this and you're taking Brendan Allen at plus 300 because you think he's going to beat Fluffy, in your mind, you convince yourself that's the best value ever. You didn't analyze the fighters. You analyzed the odds. And I'm telling you, anybody who bet on Brendan Allen, I know you bet more than a unit. Because all you guys do this shit. All you guys bet way heavier on the more popular fighters. You bet way more on the Super Bowl than you do a random regular season game. And I don't understand that because it's two very good fighters. It's equivalent. This fight should not have been a multi-unit bet by any means. And I know some of you lost your ass because you just have this, I don't know what it is. And you have this ego that you're going to get the main event right, the big fight right. Like, pay attention to the main events. How many do I get right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've missed one main event all year. One. And none of them, I think, one of them has only been a lock. Well, it was a minus 950. I don't even make them locks. Because there's no need to try to make a lock when the other opponent is so good. Look what happened when I did that with G. Matsumoto. I made it a lock, G. Matsumoto against Rob Font, and we lost because Rob Font is not a scrub, right? But turn around and look at these odds. Alonzo Menefield fighting a guy who's never been in the UFC. Nursultan Ruzaboya fighting a guy who's never been in the UFC. And you're getting better odds than you are Anthony Hernandez and Brendan Allen. What I'm trying to tell you is you got to make better choices as gamblers. You got to make better choices when you're betting on who you think is going to win or lose. Like, there's no reason to put money on that. Like, I pick every fight. I don't bet on every fight. There's no reason to put money on this fight chasing Brendan Allen when you know he's fighting a guy who beat his ass for 25 minutes. When you know you're fighting a guy in Anthony Hernandez who's just been finding ways to win because he's got that dog in him. You're betting against Anthony Hernandez. You're not betting against Julius Walker or Eric McConaughey. You're betting against Anthony Hernandez. That's just not, it's not smart. Oh, I'm taking Brendan out, and it's not smart. So, I'm just letting you guys know. And the last fight of the night, Henry Cejudo, I told you guys, he should be retired. He did some retirement bullshit. Wasted 5 minutes of our time staring at him, listening to him saying he can't see. I just ran away. I couldn't see what's coming at me. Bro, shut up, man. You are the worst. Shout out to MVPs. I told you Song and Dog by points. It was going to go the distance anyways. Nobody was going to get knocked out. It was by points. It's all good. I don't want to see a rematch. I don't think Henry Cejudo should do another fight in the UFC. It was terrible. And Song and Dog looked crisp. He's the one Chinaman you can trust, has a chin, and he can bang. But he can fight in every which way possible. If Henry Cejudo can't get a takedown, he's not a real wrestler. What skill set does he have? You just bet on him to be a good striker? That's weird. It's not the real thing. So that was easy. Felt good. Once again, another fight where I didn't make it a lock, but I knew I was right. And that's why you got to watch the videos and listen to the analysis. Now, I've already talked about all the results. Let's talk about some of these props. I said it wasn't going to go the distance. I believe that because I know Rafael Sequeira is either going to win by a knockout, or Bukowskis is not going to let that guy survive for 3 rounds. Liked it. Not go the distance. I knew Rosenboy was going to knock him out. Just too much pressure. Hits too hard, and he's fighting a scrub. Go the distance over rounds. I got it wrong. Ricky Simone knocked this man out. Submission. It was his total flyer bet, not real. Over rounds, go the distance. Andre Fili, I thought he would be competitive in the fight, not get caught in a guillotine. And that what a waste of my damn time. And here we went 50-50. That's why it's orange. It did not go the distance, and I knew that was a lock. That's why it's in green. I knew somebody's getting knocked out. And it happened. I believe they were going to go over 1.5 rounds. I was wrong. Menifil got it done. I like Silva by points. And when you see something like this, right? You see Melsik Bagdasarian here, but then you see Silva by points. I'm not flip-flopping. I'm trying to tell you should probably watch the video. I think John Silva's winning the fight. I know he's winning the fight. That's why I picked him by points over here. But we can't tell you to bet that because it's a minus 550. It's irresponsible. So I went ahead and just said, back to get like this. If you missed on this or it ruined a parlay of yours, you are the fucking worst gambler I've ever seen in my life. Seriously. You really are. I saw MVPs winning money on John Silva money line, and somebody wrote to me and goes, "Oh my God, they faded you, Rico." No, they didn't fade me. They're intelligent gamblers and watch the videos and listen to the analysis. Stop reading a chart. Oh, Rico, where's your picks? I didn't know your picks. I didn't know your win rate, your hit rate. Give me your percentages. Bro, give me your percentages. Whatever the fuck, give me your percentages. And then be an MVP and see if your percentages don't increase, because I increase your knowledge on fighting or the fighters. That's all it takes. Don't worry about what I'm doing. Don't come in here. Your record, there's no reason your record couldn't have been better than mine last night. There's no reason you could be better than 6-6. You knew John Silva was winning. You knew Mansour Abdul Malik was winning. You're at least 8-4. You're at least 8-4. Or you can fade them. Stay away from them. We got robbed on this one. It is what it is. And we knew all this was going to happen. All right. Number one money line parlay last night was Ruzenboyev and Menifil. Like I told you, I felt these are UFC caliber fighters fighting non-UFC caliber fighters. That makes me parlay them two together. It's a minus 112. Dude, that's a multiple unit bet. Straight up. That's a multiple unit bet. I don't dictate how many units you guys put on these bets. I'm just telling you these are in confidence order, and I love that bet. So it is what it is. Both these miss. Shout out to Bashrat for being a punk bitch. Now, when you guys see these next to each other and they're purple parlays are over here at 41%. The fact that they were up this high, that's on me. But I know you guys like to bet more money on plus parlays. I know you do. They're not going to hit. They're just not. They're going to be. Now, I say that, and we've been hitting them. Right? We've been hitting them like crazy. The plus parlays have been hitting. I know. Rico, I hit for 333. I hit for the all-Asian parlay, hit for 1,000, right? We hit an all-Asian parlay and hit for 1,000 just the other day, and all you guys went crazy on it. I know. But just hear me out, bro. When you're doing these bets, you got to diversify yourself, and you got to pick and choose your spots where you really believe in. Like, you got to. You see that top parlay? Everybody see the top parlay? We started off the year terribly red. We missed the next top parlay. We haven't missed the top parlay in a month. This top one. We haven't missed it in a month. You want to know how to get positive? You believe in the top parlay. Whatever it is. Every week. For the whole fucking year. You believe in that top parlay. Multiple units. You don't try to get the props right. You don't got to put nothing on every single fight. You sit there and you go to that top parlay and you go, all right, Rico's going to hit this shit. I don't know how many times. I didn't track it last year. We go back and count it. I got to go back through the other sports book and go through it. But we hit this shit all the time. This is the one you want to hit. We actually hit the top 3 a significant more time than everything else. This year I'm hoping we do better. But the top 3 have been on fire for over a year. Top 3, on average, you're going to be way ahead. And you see it. So when you see all props, if you go over here, you look at my parlays overall, and it's at 21 or 51%. Yeah, it's a little misleading. Because if you don't count those first 2 cards, what do we hear? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 1. This is 7 and 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 3. That's 11 and 4, 7 and 9. I'm sorry, 7 and 2. 18 and 5. 21 and 7 on parlays. 21 and 7. We were 0 for 13, and now we're 21 and 7 since then. It's fucking remarkable. But you got to bet it, bro. It's provided to you. You got to bet it. You got to have the balls to bet it. So, I can't bet for you. All right. Thank you guys for being MVPs. Thank you guys for trusting me for your MMA picks and your knowledge and all that stuff. We don't enjoy missing. We want to get better. We do have a fight card every single week this whole month. So every Saturday is game day. Every Saturday is fight night. The videos will be out on Thursdays and Fridays. Remember, become a member on the Patreon, become a member on YouTube. Either one. Doesn't matter. It's $25 a month or $255 for the year. And you'll get better. You'll learn more about the fighters. You'll be great. Your friends don't know, but Rico knows. Peace, y'all.